Apple currently sells 3 pairs of in-ear AirPods, but there's a fourth option they probably want you to forget, the AirPods Pro 2. So they originally launched back in 2022, and they are obviously no longer Apple's flagship AirPods. Apple doesn't even officially sell them anymore. They did, however, refresh it in 2023 with an USB-C case and a couple of small hardware changes, but unless you own an Apple Vision Pro, those changes are pretty minimal. If I were buying a pair today, I'd spend a little bit extra for the USB-C version. Despite their old age, they might be one of the best value if found at a good price. So I want to be completely upfront, this is primarily an AirPods Pro 2's review. These are the pairs that I've actually bought, I've used, and when I talk about my experience regarding battery life or noise cancellation, that's my actual lived experience. So are the AirPods Pro 2 still worth buying? Yes. Not because they are secretly better than the new flagship Apple has released, but because they still deliver a lot of the same premium experience while often costing less. The AirPods Pro 2s are very easy to live with each earbud weighing just over 5 grams and with the right silicone tip, I can wear them for hours comfortably. The silicone tips create a proper seal, which give them more bass, an actual better passive isolation, and more groundwork for better ANC. Some people do dislike that sealed feeling though, and we will get to open fit AirPods later. The case is small enough to just disappear into your pocket, and the USB-C charging one charges with the same cable as most modern devices do. You can also use MagSafe, a Qi charger, or even an Apple Watch charger to charge this pair. And of course, none of that is revolutionary, but it is extremely convenient. And that statement actually describes the AirPods Pro 2s perfectly. They quietly remove little annoyances. Active noise cancellation is still one of their best features. I have used them around traffic, in busy public spaces, and at home when I simply wanted to focus. They do not create perfect silence, but they reduce background noise enough that I can listen at a comfortable volume instead of fighting the world around me. And although new earbuds will now outperform them, the AirPods Pro 2s do not feel outdated. And transparency mode might be even more impressive. Many earbuds let outside sound in, but make the world sound processed or strangely metallic. The AirPods Pro 2s are much closer to feeling as though I am simply not wearing earbuds. But it's obviously not perfect. Then there are adaptive audio and conversation awareness. Adaptive audio blends noise cancellation and transparency depending on your surroundings, while conversation awareness lowers your media when you begin speaking. Neither of those features will probably change your life, but together they might reduce the amount of time you have to reach for your phone. And that is the exact kind of technology that I like, the kind of tech that makes itself less noticeable. But of course, none of that matters if they sound bad. So, how do they sound? I am not an audiophile, but for my ears, they sounded excellent. The bass does have enough punch without just swallowing the vocals, the mids are clear enough, and the highs are clear but not too sharp. But then again, people can have different preferences when it comes to audio, and it is highly subjective. And this pair is not designed to give you the most analytical sound ever. They are designed to make almost anything sound good, and at that, they succeed. Music sounds full and polished, podcasts feel clean, and movies are surprisingly immersive. Could wired headphones sound better for less money? Absolutely. But you're not just paying for the audio itself. You're paying for noise cancellation, transparency mode, the wireless connectivity, and the convenience in which it easily works. And speaking of convenience, with an iPhone, the integration is amazing. Pairing is almost instant, settings are built into the operating system, AirPods can switch between Apple devices, and Find My can help locate the earbuds or case. The experience feels cohesive because Apple manages both parts, the hardware and the software side. Unless you happen to use Android. You can pair them through Bluetooth, listen to music and take calls, but that's basically it. They go from an intelligent part of a well-rounded ecosystem to just very expensive generic headphones that happen to connect via Bluetooth. So if you use Android, I would look the other way unless you are completely happy with the basic functions. Apple rates the AirPods Pro 2s for up to 6 hours of listening on one charge and up to 30 hours using the case. In practice, battery anxiety has never really been a problem for me. I use them, return to the case, and by the time I need to use them again, they are charged up. Apple claims that around 5 minutes in the case can provide around 1 hour of listening. However, the AirPods Pro 3s last longer, up to 8 hours on one charge, and that is where the AirPods Pro 2s show their age. But for everyday use, I think that they are still long enough for an average user not to have to worry about battery. So how do they compare to Apple's current lineup? The regular AirPods 4 cost $129. They use an open design, which means they sit in your ear without the silicone tips sealing your ear canal. And for some people, that can be really comfortable. They can be a sensible option for casual listening, however, they lack both ANC and naturally let in more sound due to not having silicone tips. So, if you hate silicone ear tips or just don't need ANC, they can be a viable option. Then there are the AirPods 4s with noise cancellation at $179. They aren't bad, and adding ANC to an open earbud is genuinely impressive. But without the proper physical seal, the ANC has less to work with. I would only choose them if you hate silicone tips and still want some ANC, but the ANC on it isn't going to be that impressive. If you are comfortable with an in-ear seal, the AirPods Pro 2s make a lot more sense in my opinion. And finally, there are the AirPods Pro 3s. They are Apple's current flagship and cost $249. Apple says they remove up to 2 times more unwanted noise and last up to 8 hours on a single charge. And that claimed 8 hours with active noise cancellation enabled. They also added heart rate sensing during workouts and redesigned the fit. But I personally haven't tried them, so I can't talk about their comfort or sound quality. There is plenty of online debate about how they sound compared to the AirPods Pro 2s, but until I actually test them out myself, that just remains somebody else's opinion. If you want Apple's newest features, strongest advertised noise cancellation, and longest single charge battery life, the Pro 3s are the obvious choice. You just have to be willing to pay for them. So, which AirPods should you buy in 2026? If you hate silicone tips and don't need ANC, buy the regular AirPods 4s. If you hate silicone tips but want some level of ANC, buy the 4s with ANC. If you want Apple's strongest advertised noise cancellation and some new features, buy the AirPods Pro 3s. But if you want to find a good balance between the prices and the features, I would recommend looking at the AirPods Pro 2s. They aren't the newest nor the most powerful, but they are still interesting because they share a lot of the same premium features that their latest flagship has. Just don't buy a suspiciously cheap used pair off of somebody whose profile picture is a 2008 BMW. Those are probably fake or stolen or both.